Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Coping Together. I'm your host, Faith, with the Mental Health Association of Central Florida, here to talk to you about all things related to mental health, COVID-19, and how we're all going to get through this journey together. And I know one of the things that we've talked about in some of our past episodes recently is we've actually talked about human trafficking and really kind of gone into a little bit about the mental health aspects of that and how COVID-19 even plays a role. Today, in kind of closing this series, I am very honored to actually have someone here who's willing to share their story. She's through the Lifeboat Project. Her name is Joanne. Joanne, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And thank you so much for being here. I will just get right into it and ask if you would share a little bit about your story with all of us. And thank you again in advance.
So, I came from another country. Um, and while we, meaning me and my sibling and my mom, we were living in very, we were in very impoverished conditions. Um, Something that it's like we had like a dirt floor in our house. At one point, we had rats like the size of cats, and there was roaches, and we had no food, and a lot of the times there was no running water. There was definitely no hot water ever. There was no lights a lot of the time. I remember going to school and my uniform falling to the ground because I was literally starving. I had lost so much weight. And so here so we meet this pastor, and so things start to look up for us mentally, not really financially, but mentally we start to, I guess, be built up by this pastor. And so he tells my mom that he can bring us to America, and that he would help us get our documentation, and that he would help us and all this other stuff. And so we come to America in 2010, and none of that happened. None of the things that he promised us that he was going to do, none of that happened. We, my sibling, he was playing in the church for no money, and then me and my mom would walk to his house. It was like a 20-minute walk, and we would walk to his house and clean his house and iron all his clothes for $25. And that's his entire house, upstairs, downstairs, and we would do that for $25 and walk back home. So the manipulation, and I feel like he was testing the waters to see how, what he could do and how much he could get us to do. And as time went by and I graduated high school, and obviously he hasn't helped me to get documentation. So I'm kind of stuck. I'm trying to go to college. I'm trying to do a lot of things, but I can't do them because I was undocumented. So he and he told us to he told me that I could work for him, and I was just happy to have the opportunity to make some money. And so I was working 40 hours a week for $50 a week. And half the time he wouldn't even pay me that. So, but it was such being like under his control. It was so brainwashy, because he would say he had us believing that he could raise people from the dead, and that he's been to heaven and been to hell and fought demons and sat with angels and all these things. And so like it was such a cult. And he literally, I was afraid of him. He could have make me do anything without having to say, oh, I'm going to do this to you, or I'm going to do that. I was already so afraid of him and so brainwashed by him. I would do anything he asked. And so when I was working for 40 hours or more, because really he expected me to take homework to do. So that I thought nothing of it. I didn't think that I was being trafficked. I didn't think that it was wrong. I thought I was doing it for the Lord. And that went on for quite some time. And to speak about like especially like the mental aspect of the labor trafficking he was having me do. Like he would, like when I would come into work, he would say, "Oh, you're too big, so I need you to drink this apple cider vinegar." It's like you're not supposed to drink like that much. I understand like the health benefits, but it just got to where I feel like he was just exerting his power over me. And he would like, "Oh, you're too dark. I need you to use this bleaching cream." So it was like he would like break me down mentally to where there was no fight in me. I um there was no way that I could. I'm sorry if you could edit that up. So I was just, like I said, I just under his control. And so until, and then I met Jill. When I met Jill, I was still working for this pastor. And I wanted to volunteer. And so I went with Jill to one of to a speaking engagement she had. And they were doing a presentation on what labor trafficking looks like. And I was like, wow, he's doing that to me, and he's doing that to me, he's doing that to me. Oh my God, I'm being labor trafficked right now, and I don't even know. And so I had to basically and Jill was already helping me because of other things that have happened to me. Um, so so I had to really like sit down and have a conversation with Jill, like, I'm literally being trafficked right now as I've been here. And so um that's when my journey with the lifeboat really began, as a survivor, and then really going to therapy and understanding all of these things, and unlearning a lot of the trauma. So
Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And especially, I think that your story really, if I can say, kind of brings to light, like you said yourself, you didn't know what was happening to you. And I can only imagine that someone who is supposed to be kind of a leader in this sense and someone you can look up to taking advantage of you like that. And like you said, you're under the impression that you're doing what's expected of you. You're, like you said, you're doing the Lord's work. You're, doing it for a preacher. And so, that having that happen to you, first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. And I'm very grateful that you're willing to share your story with us. And I think that that's a wonderful thing that you were already connected with Jill and she was able to kind of help you once you kind of had that realization. And I guess I kind of want to ask you my last question. How has that transition process of healing been for you, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about it, whether it's been always really hard, it's been easier than not? Is there anything you can tell us a little bit about that?
So it was definitely, the hard part about it was to I guess just accepting what happened. And and the transition of coming from accepting that this has happened, and then during that time my mom passed away, so then I was dealing with the grief like with that. And then he the pastor, I remember the pastor calling me, and like not 30 days after my mom was buried, that he was like, "I don't care, you need to come back to work." and and so I was dealing with a lot of that. And so what really helped was that the lifeboats was just the services that they provide. um I was going through a time where when I was under this pastor, he wasn't helping me, so I didn't see a dentist, I didn't go to a doctor, I hadn't been to a doctor in years. It wasn't until I came to the lifeboat that I even went to a dentist in my entire life. So it was really just them working with me and meeting my individual needs. I needed therapy. I needed I needed a house, I needed a place to live, because obviously I wasn't going to stay where he had access to me. So that's where the housing was important. The medical, dental, vision. I was wearing glasses that I had since I was in the 9th grade, and so I couldn't see. So that's the way the lifeboat helps people with each of their individual struggles. And it's like, what do you need? And what can we do to put you on your feet? What can we do to help you move forward? One of my dreams was going to college. The lifeboat, through connections with Valencia, has to get a waiver for me to go to school, and they helped me get my books, because while I'm still like navigating the documentation process, things are, do I apply for financial aid? Do I do this? And so it was just amazing to go through into when I sit back and look at my life of how it was before I came to America, and then the nightmare that was being with this preacher, and then to my life now. I really just, even though it's still hard sometimes in dealing with the trauma and dealing with, the ramifications of working for him, I'm still so grateful for how my life has just completely changed. And and so now I like to share my story with people. I like to help bring awareness for human trafficking, because there can be somebody like me that's sitting at home wondering what are the signs, or what, that something could be happening to them that they don't know, that they need to reach out for help. So it's definitely been night and day, the process.
Thank you so much again for sharing that information with us. And I think that it's really powerful that you do share your story, like you said, with the possibility that somebody may have a similar story to your own, where they don't realize what's happening to them. And, possibly through your story, they realize that seems a little bit too familiar, and they can start to move forward with that. And I just want to thank you again for sharing with us, not only just your story, but also about the healing process. And I wish you the best of luck in your continued journey towards healing in that regard. And just thank you again so much for being here and for everything that you do. And thank you for being such a strong, a strong, courageous person. And I think that really says a lot about your character, if I may say so.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you again for being here, Joanne. And for all of you at home, thank you so much for watching. I know these have been some of our more difficult topics to cover on Coping Together. So if you are feeling any sense of, discomfort or nervousness, or maybe you're, feeling like you can identify with some of this, anything like that, or you're worried about someone, whether it's related to human trafficking or not, please feel free to reach out to us at the Mental Health Association. We're here to get you connected to whatever resources you may need. And if there's, like I said, any topics you want to see us cover, please reach out to us as well. I will include, as always, any information relevant to this episode, such as the lifeboats, website information, the National Hotline for Human Trafficking phone number. And just thank you again so much, Joanne, and to all of you. And I will see you next time. Thank you.